This is episode number 168 for Stay Happily Married, Why Couples Need to Eat, Sleep, and Play Together.
Welcome to Stay Happily Married.
Happily Married. Happily Married.
Your source for weekly updates on the latest tips and advice to build a happy and healthy marriage.
Today's episode of Stay Happily Married is brought to you by the Rosen Law Firm. For more information, visit us at rosen.com.
We all have busy schedules filled with appointments, work, children's activities, and even family events. And no matter how much we seem to get done, we can't seem to muster any more free time. This lack of time can begin to affect our families and even our spouse. Dr. Kristen Wynns joins us to discuss why you should always make time to do 3 things with your spouse. That's eat, sleep, and play. Dr. Kristen Wynns holds a doctorate and master's degree in clinical psychology and is a licensed psychologist. She is founder and owner of Wynn's Family Psychology in Cary, North Carolina, and Dr. Wynn is experienced in individual, family, group, play, and couples therapy. I'm Stephanie Lockwood, and I'm your host today. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Kristen. I'm so glad you could join us.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, Kristen. So you have these 3 things, and let's go on to the first one. Why is it so important that we eat together?
Well, for couples and for families, mealtime is a great opportunity to share nourishment and have connection with each other. It's really a great time to communicate and touch base about how everyone's day went. And it also shows that family and your spouse is a top priority and that you carved out that time to sit down and share a meal with them. So it's very important for those reasons. And there's, of course, as a side note, since I work with a lot of kids, there's great research that shows that mealtime is a protective factor for kids and teenagers. And it's fascinating all the things that mealtime has been linked to with kids, with having better grades, less likely to have substance abuse problems, less likely to get into trouble. So it's just great for couples and for families. So
what other, especially related to couples, what other positive consequences come from sharing meals together?
For couples in particular, it can be a great time just to spend sort of low-key, enjoyable time with each other to plan the meals or to come up with the menu together or to prepare the meals and even sort of cleaning up afterwards, although most of us don't like that,
exactly.
that part. If you're doing it together, it can be a nice time to sort of relax and chat while you're cleaning up, and just to have sort of that downtime with your spouse is also a benefit of sharing a meal together.
Now, we hear things about, families are always so busy, they're always on the run, they are coming home, they're tired, they stop by and pick up something like fast food. Now, obviously when you're eating at home, you're going to be eating something different. So eating with your family or even just with your spouse, if a family isn't in the picture, can lead to healthier meals, correct?
That theoretically should be the case.
Theoretically.
I think we all probably fall prey to sometimes buying convenience foods for home, too. But certainly I think eating meals at home oftentimes results in healthier meals and more well-balanced meals. So that's another benefit, certainly, is what you're eating is oftentimes more nourishing if you plan the meal to eat at home.
Okay. So are there any tricks to actually having a successful family mealtime? Because, sometimes things just don't always go the way you plan them.
That's right. And I think sometimes parents or couples feel pressure and get stressed out trying to carve out a time. So I think it's okay to have a moderate goal for the couple or for the family to say, hey, let's aim for 3 or 4 times a week that we're all definitely going to look at our calendars and find a good night that works for everyone. And really, with as busy as families are and couples are, it's great to even just establish an actual meal time to say, okay, so tonight you'll be home from work at this time, I'll be home then, let's plan on eating at 6:30, and just establishing it verbally or even putting it on the calendar helps couples remember to make it a priority. and to also not get overwhelmed with planning an elaborate meal. Just having a simple, healthy meal that doesn't involve a lot of time to prepare it makes things easier, too. And I'm always a fan of having ground rules when you're having a meal, too. So especially if there are kids in the mix, but unfortunately even adults and couples now are prone to glancing at a phone or checking email real quick. So it's nice to sort of have the ground rules that, hey, we're going to turn off our electronics, we're going to put our cell phones in another room and just really enjoy conversation with each other on light topics, nothing heavy duty, no problem solving or nagging, just enjoying chit-chat about each other's days.
So you said no nagging. So only conversation, would that mean only light conversation not relating to one's personal life, or what do you usually suggest for these dinner times?
Yeah, I think anything goes as long as it's positive. There are other times if you have a problem to solve or a complaint or criticism, there are other times that you can sit down and say, hey, these things are bothering me, but mealtime should try to be preserved just for kind of the light chit-chat to talk about what's going on at work, what the plans are, what's going on with friends, other family, anything that's kind of a light topic is fine.
And it makes sense because, I mean, all of this, I know people get busy, whether, you have kids or you're just in a relationship on your own. You get busy with work and you get overwhelmed and, you have to eat. Everyone has to eat. So it seems to make sense to just make that little bit of effort to coordinate ahead of time and do those necessary activities together.
That's right.
So the next necessary activity that you had mentioned was sleeping. So why is it so important to sleep together in the same bed?
Yes, I think for many people when they hear sleeping together, for couples, they automatically think of sex. And while that's important, the actual act of sleeping together with your spouse is very important too. And there are some pretty cool studies that show if you're married, you end up spending a third of your life sleeping with your partner. So that's a long time. And although you're technically unconscious and you might think, why would that be important? It's actually linked to many benefits for the individual in the relationship as well as the couple. So it's an important time, and it can reflect the health of the marriage, or it can contribute to the health of the marriage, just that act of sleeping together.
Now, you always see studies, and these I think are obviously more recent studies, because when I think of episodes of Leave It to Beaver, you had the parents who slept in the same room, but they always slept in twin beds. So sleeping together in the same bed is something relatively new. Within the last 50 years, it's something that's actually socially acceptable. Mm-hmm. And now there have to be studies about sleeping together, the advantages of sleeping together, of sleeping apart. What are some of these the benefits and the consequences of this?
So the benefits of sleeping together are, first of all, just communication and being able to catch up. Sadly, just because of how busy we are, many couples find that few minutes while you're lying in bed before you fall asleep is one of the few times in the day that you can chat about your days and spend some quality time talking. So just from a connection standpoint, that time is important. It's also linked to increased intimacy, increased pleasurable activities. Of course, you're going to have better odds of having sex if you're sleeping together, but just other pleasurable activities of just spending time together, cuddling, maybe giving a back rub. Those kinds of things are more likely to happen if you're going to bed at the same time. And it's also a good time for couples to just feel comfortable and connected with each other. So many benefits. And as I referenced before, sometimes if your marriage is suffering or you're having marital problems, the first thing that goes is sleeping together. So sometimes that's a barometer for the health of the marriage. And if couples are having difficulties, they might, on purpose, sleep in different rooms, different beds, or just stagger the bedtime so that they don't have to go to bed at the same time. So it can also reflect problems in the marriage.
Okay. Now, you always have, married couples, young children. You have the children sometimes coming into the bed. Either they can't sleep on their own or they're afraid of something. Now, does that have any effect on a relationship if you always have a child who's kind of in the bed with you?
For sure. And there are some interesting studies showing that married people with children get less sleep than married people without children. And I think any of us that have kids can completely understand that,
oh, yes.
why that is so. But there are many issues that are real factors that get in the way of couples sleeping together and enjoying that time. Kids coming in is a big one. If you have a child who insists on sleeping with a parent, sometimes the other parent will say, well, I'm not coming in because the bed's already full. So that's a hurdle. Many couples struggle with one partner snoring, which can really be disruptive. Having different sleep cycles where one person doesn't get tired until 1 a.m., the other one's exhausted at 10, or other health issues like sleep apnea or restless legs syndrome. All of those are real issues that couples have to overcome that make it more likely to retreat to their separate beds or even separate bedrooms.
Now, with everything that could happen, snoring, kids coming to the bed, do you have any advice for couples who want to improve their habit of actually going to bed together?
Yes, I think I would start with the easier things to tackle just from a problem-solving standpoint. So certainly if it's a health issue, then go see your doctor. There are great things you can do for sleep apnea, for snoring, for restless leg syndrome. So if it's something like that, definitely seek medical help. That can help. If it's a comfort issue, then brainstorm how you can make the bed comfortable for both of you. Maybe you need to get more covers for one side of the bed or different pillows, or put in a fan for somebody who's always hot. So just looking at the actual physical space of the bed and bedroom can sometimes help couples feel more comfortable. And sort of similar to what I referenced for meal times, it might be too ambitious to say we have to go to bed together every night, but to have a moderate goal of, hey, let's try to go to bed together at least 2 or 3 times a week, and sort of plan, okay, tomorrow night, let's both try to head to bed at the same time. That can help just to have sort of a moderate goal. And I'm a big fan of spooning, which is something that sort of sounds silly, but it's really interesting, all the research that shows how important spooning is. That's that position where you kind of sleep like you're nested together like spoons. And there's interesting research that shows that sleeping position is linked to lower stress for each individual. It increases the intimacy, and it's really got a sort of a physiological effect of relaxation and comfort to sleep that way. So I think even to sort of say, hey, let's remember to try to cuddle. Sometimes if you've been married for a while, you retreat to each corner of your bed and you like to have your own space to kind of flop around. But even to start off the night, spooning for a few minutes is linked to great things for the relationship.
Awesome. So we've had eating, we've had sleep, which are 2 very essential things. Now we have play. So what exactly is playing, and why is it so important?
It's funny to talk about playing with adults because sometimes we get in this mindset that play is just for kids, but there is great research to show that happier couples report that they're happy because they have a lot of fun together. And it's a shame as couples get busier and have kids that you get into sort of autopilot of work, feed the kids, check your email, go to bed, and people forget about how important fun is for relationships. So John Gottman has a great ratio that he always recommends of having 5 positive interactions to wipe out every 1 negative interaction. And that's always a helpful rule of thumb couples to keep in mind if they're feeling stressed and they've had an argument or things just aren't going well, to really think, gosh, I need 5 positive interactions to wipe out the effects of the 1 negative. And so planning something fun to play together is a great way to add more positive interactions to your relationship.
Now, what types of activities should couples participate in when they're playing together?
There's a great article that came out in the New York Times that was about reinventing date night for married couples who've been married for a long time. And it was very interesting because these studies found that couples who spend time together doing novel and different experiences had much greater increases in their marital satisfaction. So, in other words, yes, going out on a date is great and important for the relationship, but the type of date that you go on can really make a difference in increasing your marital satisfaction even more. So the key factor was the novel and different experiences. So dinner and a movie, not so much. It would need to be a new experience that's really going to activate that part of the brain that releases the good, feel-good neurotransmitters that when we fall in love, we've got those neurotransmitters just floating around in our brain like crazy. But as we go on and get comfortable with the partner, we need new experiences to kind of release those chemicals in the brain again. So exciting date nights where you're doing something new and maybe getting out of your comfort zone a little bit are great.
Now, do you have any suggestions for venues or activities where couples could do things that aren't usual, like a dinner and a movie?
Yes, definitely. If you're kind of an active couple, there are great things where you can go to a rock wall climbing place. Hot yoga is a thing everyone's talking about now. I'm kind of fascinated with. I haven't done it myself, but, to go take a new class that you've heard something about together. They have some indoor skydiving places that are exciting to go do together as a couple. Zip lining, even to just get something at home that's kind of new, to get a punching bag and say, hey, let's learn how to do kickboxing together. And get a DVD and watch that for a fun night together. Or if you're more of kind of the not so active artsy type, then go take a new art class together or do one of the classes where you can drink wine and paint at the same time, have a teacher show you how to paint. Those are getting to be popular, and those are a fun new thing. Or you can sort of push your limits of comfort and go to an improv comedy place or karaoke and get up on the stage together or alone and do your thing. So there are great things if you brainstorm that couples might be interested in that can have that novel, exciting feel to them.
And now this happens to everyone in kind of every situation in life, just like it could for mealtime. How do you keep things positive? How do you keep it from, turning a fun activity into something that's, just not the night you had planned?
Right, and that would be probably the worst case scenario, to be fighting when you're on a zip line, right? That would probably not be a good combination. So it's great if couples establish before they go out to say, hey, let's really protect this fun time from conflict, and just to state it explicitly before you go out that, let's keep tonight or today light. I know we have this or that problem that we were talking about, but let's really protect this fun time. And to state that in advance is helpful. But if someone forgets or slips up and sort of starts to talk about something that might be a conflict area, just to have the other spouse say, hey, you know what, can we table that issue? Remember, we're going to try to just keep today fun. Can we table that and talk about it tomorrow over breakfast, or talk about it tomorrow when the kids have soccer practice? So just to kind of acknowledge it, but stay focused on just enjoying each other's company.
Great advice. Great advice. Kristen, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today and being on the show. To find out more about Dr. Kristen Wynns, you can always visit her site at wynsfamilypsychology.com, and we'll have a link to that in the show notes. And you can always book an appointment by calling her office at 919-467-7777. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you'll join us again next week. We always love hearing from you, so to comment on this or any other episode, you can call our listener comment line at 919-256-3083, or you can email us at comments@stayhappily.married. I'm Stephanie Lockwood, and until next time, stay happily married.
Thank you for joining us today on Stay Happily Married.
Happily married. Happily married.
If you'd like more information, please visit us on the web at stayhappily.married.com. We would love to hear your feedback or comments. Please email us at comments@stayhappily.married.com or call us at 919-256-3083. Until next time, best wishes.